Okay, let's begin. So in our last session, we finished off tutorial 1, section A. So I just want to remind you, when we plan our answers for section A, although it's 5 marks true, false, right? But the objective of the examiner is not just to see the word true or false, but the approach. So the general approach that I recommend you doing is to use EPICS. Right? You explain and you prove. So in our lecture, you are always learning E and P. I will always show you the concept, the diagram, or the maths. But on top of that, right, whenever you do your revision or you do your tutorial question, you must grasp that every model has assumptions. So that's the next step, which is the I. So at this level, right, doing the first few tutorials, most of you should be comfortable doing EP and I at the minimum. Alright, okay? But to excel in our module, okay, if you want to really go beyond, okay, and secure very good grades, examiner wants you to challenge assumptions. Right, so when going through tutorial 1, you could see, by looking at the equation or looking at the assumptions, you are able to challenge it. Alright, if you are able to understand the real world, the world will be able to reflect to you. Whatever you have discussed are very limited. Okay, so when we do true-false, your aim is not just to prove the statement true or false. That's not the goal. The goal is to use the given statement, the given cause, explain the effect, but make sure it covers all the key 5 steps. Alright, so set a target for yourself that up to now you must be able to do the EP and I. It's quite worrying if you can only do E and P. It means you look at the question was life cycle hypothesis, you really explain. But you don't know how to challenge your assumption, you don't know how to indicate the assumption. Okay? So if you have printed my answer outline, you could see I gave you more questions to practice. Alright, so don't just practice, make sure you also finish it within 10 minutes. So today we're going to move on to section B, alright, of our tutorial. So just to highlight to you, alright, in the tutorial for section B, which is also our exam format question, it's usually 20 marks, 3 parts, alright, okay? And the minimum that you must do is part A and B, because it's quite standard. Part A is derivation, alright? I've derived the IBC with you before, I've derived the PIH equation, we have derived the Solos model before. So all this are usually tested in part A, but the weightage can be quite low, it's usually 5 to 6 marks. Right? Then part B is what we have been doing in lectures. All the exercise question, all the analysis and calculation question I did with you in lecture notes are actually part B of our long question. Alright, okay? You merely use the given information and you solve it. So that would be 7 marks. Okay? So therefore, for part A and B, okay, 12 out of 20, you may not know that you are confident to score all 12, but you must aim for at least a 10. Alright? Then part C is where the question will change every year. Examiner don't repeat part C. They may repeat part A and B, but they usually don't repeat part C. Part C question is what we call a thinking question. Alright, after you solve part B, they may ask you to change one of the variable. So today, later in our tutorial, you will see. Alright, you have a standard question using the IBC, but now they will ask you to derive a new IBC. Alright, so it doesn't go away from the perimeter. It's usually related to part B. Okay, but they want to test you out of what you have learned in class. Okay, then of course, compare, alright, or even discuss validity of the model, okay, and compare the outcome. So do expect part C of section B questions to be new, can be really frightening, right? It's 8 marks, but we are not asking you to score the full 20 marks in section B. The goal you set for yourself for section B is usually 15 marks. So imagine having scored 10 marks from part A and B. Your goal is just to score 5 out of 8. Alright, so if you set a correct set of goals for yourself, you know what you are heading for. Then when you do your section B, you are very clear-minded. always tell yourself you are not scoring 20. Nobody, alright, could score all 20 marks at all, because there is a time limit, which is usually, right, 30 to 35 to 40 minutes. So here I put 40. Right, but the scary thing is a lot of students most of the time has very poor time management. They usually will take 1 hour, 1.5 hours to finish it. Although they can score 20, but they actually fail. Alright, so make sure you finish within 35 minutes. Aim to score 15, means a very full, complete answer to A and B. Right, time is always the enemy. So when the moment time is up, no matter what, right, you must finish a little bit of part C. If you only finish up to A and B, you literally fail already. So you must be clear. Time is the main enemy. Okay? The topic is very, very limited. Okay? There's only 6 questions, you must do 3. And in tutorial 1 and 2, I've prepared you 2 out of the 6 questions already. Alright, so you know the perimeter is limited, time is the enemy. So unlike section A, which I told you, writing 1.5 page is sufficient. For section B, there is no limit of the length. Alright, but what is important is your diagram. Okay, 80% of the time your answers require a diagram. Okay, and the answer came from the diagram. And they tend to ask you to shift or change slope. Therefore, diagram must be well drawn, well explained. It must be sizable. Alright, don't draw a small diagram and then expect the examiner to give you marks. Okay, use paragraphing. Okay, although we are not answering true false, we are doing derivation, we are doing analysis, our standard step 1 to 6, but use paragraphing. And wherever possible, minimize the use of your own abbreviation. Okay, I know it's inevitable because you're running out of time, but you don't want to have the entire answer looking like your own mini essay, which nobody understands. So section B, we are not doing essay per se. It's actually 3 parts. Alright, okay, but the answers are much longer than section A, and it's very much more analytical. Okay, so very quick demo, let's look at our tutorial 1. So today we'll do tutorial 1, then we will move on to tutorial 2.